We'll begin. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokasankaram Sadasiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parambaram. Now I completed the Nyaya system. Just to look at the Nyaya system by way of review. The Nyaya system may be characterized as the foundational system. Foundational for all the systems. And to be foundational means to serve as a basis for the development of philosophical thinking. And it is not a very simple task that it has achieved. No system, as I have been repeatedly telling you, can afford to ignore Nyaya. It has got a long history, as long as you find in the case of any other system. Other darshanikas sometimes agree with the Nyaya, sometimes do not agree with the Nyaya. It does not matter. But the principles of logic are really important. Secondly, it is a realistic and a pluralistic system. It accepts the existence of many objects. It accepts the existence of many individuals, many human beings, many jivas. It is a full system which has provided a place for everything, including God. And it has formulated certain arguments. Arguments may appear to be a little strange, queer, but we need some kind of an argument. Arguments are not necessarily for proving the existence of God, but they are arguments designed to show that at some point or other we have to accept the existence of a superpower on which we have to depend. A superpower which controls everything as a moral governor. A superpower which directs human beings who would like to lead a meaningful and purposive life. A superpower which controls the principle called the law of karma. It is a theistic system, therefore, and it is also a spiritually oriented system. Logic is not the mainstay, though it serves as a foundation, but like other systems, it is spiritually oriented. That's all I want to say by way of summary. It's a sister system, allied system called a Vaisesika. Vaisesika is important more for the metaphysical side, because I told you that we have got logic and epistemology, we have got metaphysics. Though every system has got metaphysics, the metaphysics The Vaisesika has an important place. It has analyzed all the objects of the world, subsumed them under major categories. Therefore, it talks about 7 kinds of categories, Padartas, 7 kinds of objects. We don't use the word object because anything, this is an object, that is an object, a tree is an object. Therefore, specifically the term that is used is Padartha, not in the mere literal sense, namely that an object which is denoted by a word. Sometimes the etymological meaning may be helpful. Sometimes we have to go beyond the etymological meaning. You know the meaning of the word Padartha. And through a word we denote an object. A word has got both denotation and connotation. It serves the purpose of referring to something. Also, it provides the meaning or significance of the term. That is connotation. So in that basic sense, you can say yes, it shows the objects. But in a general sense, the philosophical sense, a category is an object of knowledge. The object of knowledge need not necessarily be a material entity. A quality can be an object of knowledge. The universal principle can be an object of knowledge. Even an entity which does not exist can be an object of knowledge. Therefore, in a very broad sense, the term Padartha is used. Padartha. Object of knowledge. How do we classify the Padarthas? Well, there are only 7 Padarthas according to the system. I given the list. There are 6 positive entities and 1 negative entity. 6 positive entities. I have got an easy way. I think it is an easy way of grouping the categories. Dravya, Guna, Karma, I put that in one group. Dravya, Guna, and Karma. They hang together. They hang together. Then the second group, I put Samanya and Vishesha. Once again, they go together. The 6th category, called Samavaya, is a very peculiar category which has got something to do with every other categories. So, Samavaya it may be characterized as the cornerstone of the entire system. You know what is called a cornerstone? The building, they say the cornerstone. It supports the structure. Now, in the absence of this Samavaya, as Dr. Reviji said the other day, the entire system will collapse. And therefore, if one wants to criticize this system, in order to bring it down, you have to concentrate your fire of attack on this category, Samavaya. So long as it continues, it sustains a system. The moment you show that this category is an untenable category, the whole thing Then go down. So 3 plus 2 plus 1, 6. Then there is a negative category called abhava. Abhava. So 6 positive categories. Under the 6 positive categories, the most important category which is responsible for the other categories to function properly, to understand properly, we have got samavaya. While all these are positive categories, there is a negative category called abhava. It's translated as non-existence. Sometimes as absence, sometimes as non-existence. It all depends upon the word you want to choose. Let us take the first 3. Dravya is a substance. And when we use the term dravya, according to the Vaisesika, it is that which possesses guna and karma, which is a support or substratum of guna and karma. It is not something that is an empty thing. It is something in which there is guna, there is karma, as the case may be. Then now reverse. Guna is a quality, karma is action. Guna requires a support, a substratum for its existence. Where is it? It is in a dravya. It is in a dravya. Where is karma? Where is that? It is in dravya. In other words, if you want to simplify, you can say, a dravya is something which is involved in action. It is involved in action. Different kinds of action. 5 kinds of action. That means that though guna and karma have been accepted, each of them have been accepted as something that is existent as a padartha, still they got a dependent existence on dravya. Dependent existence on dravya. Mere dependence will not make them lose their status as padartha. They are padarthas. But their nature is such that they require a support for their existence. So guna, where is guna? Where do you see guna? In a dravya. Where do you see karma? In a dravya. Not a very difficult thing. It goes with our common sense. And you may recall that Shastriyar was telling that in guna there cannot be a guna. Why? Because if there is a guna in a guna, it is not a guna, it will be a substance of dravya. Because by definition we say a guna can be in a dravya. A dravya possesses guna. Supposing this entity, we call it guna. Supposing there is a quality, then it is no more a guna but becomes a dravya. Now this is a great advantage. See, we are thankful, that Advaita is very thankful to the Vaisesika system for the way in which they have formulated the categories and also has defined the categories. Now I focus on guna. In a guna, there cannot be another guna. Nirguno gunaha. Guna is nirguna. The Advaitin has to face the criticism primarily from the Visishtadvaitin and the Advaitin. Only the Sakavadis will give a lot of trouble. Now, the Visishtadvaitin is a Vedantin. The Advaitin is a Vedantin. In the north of India, when they use the term Vedanta, they say it is Advaita. We are happy. Advaitins are happy. Vedanta is equal to Advaita. And this way of giving equation between Advaita and Vedanta is unacceptable to the Visishtadvaitin and Advaitin, because they say our system is also a Vedanta system. Visishtadvaita is a Vedanta. So when you give the classification Vedanta, under that you can have so many systems. Advaita, Visishtadvaita, Dvaita, Veda, Veda. Of different kinds of Veda, Veda. Not one variety, one brand, several brands. And then Vallabha's system, Nimbarka's system. And other systems also. Swaminarayana's system. There may be a new Vaishnava system. That's why I specifically say that Advaita, Visishtadvaita, Dvaita, and so on. And among all these Vedanta systems, the one which is so close to Advaita is Visishtadvaita. So when the Advaitin talks about Brahman as Nirguna, we say that Nirguna Brahman. Visishtadvaitin doesn't accept the concept of Nirguna Brahman. Because to them, there is no entity which is Nirguna. Every entity is Visishta. Every entity is Visishta. Visishta in the sense, namely, that it is qualified by Visheshana. Qualified by a quality or an attribute called Visheshana. Without this qualification or Visheshana, there is no entity at all. Therefore, how can Advaitin speak about Brahman as Nirguna? On the contrary, according to the Visishtadvaitin, Brahman must be viewed only as Saguna. There is only Saguna Brahman, not Nirguna Brahman. It's impossible to think of any entity which is Nirguna. And you may remember, Shashriyar made a reference to a very creative Advaitin in recent times. Ramaraya Kavi. He also mentioned the book, Shankara Bhashya Vimarsaha. Wrong title. Vimarsha is a review. Review of what? Review of Shankara's commentary and non-Shankara commentaries. Ashankara. What is not Shankara? But the Ramaraya Kavi plays pun on the word. The word Shankara means Shamkaroti. One who does good is Shankara. Therefore, the Shankara's commentary is a commentary which does good, which not only provides prayers for you, but also helps you to attain Shreyas. There are only two things, two value system, Kathopanishad. It operates on the basis of two value system. One value is prayers, the pleasant. The other value is Shreyas, the good. There are two things which take care of the human beings, the pleasant and the good. Prayers and Shreyas. And you can work out the entire value system on the basis of these two. We can multiply. So, Shankara and his system and his followers, all of them, starting from the leader, they are conducive to the achievement of the good, the shreyas. And the realization of the shreyas will also guarantee your prayers. Who will be really happy in the world? A great sannyasi, brahmajnani, a jivan mukta, one who has attained Brahma Nirvana. Several words are there. Therefore, there is Shankara's Bhashya, Ashankara. All the other Bhashyas are not conducive to the good. He even goes, I don't want to say that one, he even goes to the extent of using sometimes very philosophically acceptable but abusive terms. Because Ramaraya Kavi was a Vaishnavite to start with. By birth he was a Vaishnavite. A man coming from a very affluent family tradition. And he used to have all the symbols of the Vaishnava. And Sashyar was saying that his knowledge of Nyaya was very profound. Yes. But Nyaya is needed for the purpose of Vedanta. So when you have an instrument is valued not for its own sake, but the instrument is valued for the higher purpose for which you require that one. I need a knife to cut an apple. Because it is useful to cut an apple, it doesn't mean that I have to worship a knife. On the day of Ayuda Puja, I may do worship. Saraswati Puja and Ayuda Puja, that I can do. But to think that I have to worship the knife every day, I think that is too much. So we recognize the value of logic, and Ramaraya Kavi was a great logician. He used to challenge people. Whenever he had the occasion, when great scholars would pass by his village, they would come and stay in his house. He would take care of them. And like that, he had an occasion to have two great scholars, one a Nyayika, the other was a grammarian, Vaiyakarana. He said, please stay here and teach me. By the time they teach one or two chapters, you go ahead. A great person, a contemporary, my teacher used to say, he is Abhinava Shankara. The way in which, in a very simple way that Ramaraya Kavi is able to convey his ideas is something marvelous, you would say. I have not seen any other writer, that is his testament. So he wrote a book, Shankara Bhashya Vimarshaha. Shankara Bhashya Vimarshaha. It's a review of the commentary which is really conducive to the good. That is Shankara's commentary. And the commentaries, primarily he takes only Ramanuja. See, usually a convert, whatever may be the religion, will always take his religious position very seriously. I don't want to use the word, a convert will be a fanatic. That's why very consciously I am using the expression. He will take it very seriously. The zeal of conversion, what may be called the fire of baptism, a acceptable, glowing way of talking about the fire of baptism. And my teacher, philosophy teacher, Venkataramayya used to say, Sureswara has to go through the fire of baptism. When he has to come to the Advaita fold, it was not an easy thing for him. Being a Mimamsaka was tested. He has to go through the fire of baptism. But still, even though Shankara has accepted him as a disciple, others were suspicious whether the old Mimamsa Vasana may be lingering, and he may, as the occasion would permit him, do some subtle damages to Advaita. They were a little suspicious, all his classmates. So he wrote his commentary on the Upanishads, Taittiriya and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And when he was about to be commissioned to write a commentary on the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, probably there was some kind of a mild resentment, and Acharya sensed this resentment, and therefore he asked him to write an independent work. Therefore he wrote Naiskarmya-siddhi. This is a story, traditional story. We accept it, it makes sense. We don't have to question that one. Very interesting story we can tell our children who are interested in Shankara and the disciples. Tell the story. So Ramaraya Kavi, I go back to the problem. See here, Ramaraya Kavi wants to examine the Visishtadvaita objection, namely that it is impossible for us to think of Nirguna Brahman, because a general statement they make, Ramanuja and his followers, that any object, whatever it may be, is only Saguna. Brahman also is an object of knowledge. So long as it is ignorant, it is an object of knowledge. That is a condition. So long as you do not know anything, it is what has to be known. I don't know Brahman now. I have to know Brahman, something which remains unknown to me, but which I have to know, that we call as an object of knowledge. Doesn't mean that we have to put it on a footing of equality with other prameya vastus. No. That contextually we say, I don't know anything about Brahman. Is there Brahman? Is there such a thing called Brahman? How do I know that? What is its nature? We put several questions. And therefore it is accepted in the Advaita, even by Shankara, that so long as it is not known, it is an object of knowledge. Only when ignorance goes away, its characterization as an object of knowledge is not right. That has to go. So, Ramanuja says there is no object which is nirguna. Because he wants to, the concept of Visishta is very crucial for him. Visishta, I told you what does it mean. An object which is qualified by a Visheshana is Visishta. Brahman is Visishta. Is it Visishta? It is Visishta because it is qualified by adjectives, Visheshanas. Two important Visheshanas, the Jiva on the one hand and the world on the other, the cosmic body. The world provides a cosmic body to the Lord. The Jiva also is part of the Lord, body of the Lord. Therefore, Brahman, view Brahman as something like a big globe, imagine. And there is Brahman. It has the body comprising the Jiva on the one hand and the world on the other. I sometimes put it in the form of a triangle. Here is Brahman, here is Jiva, here is the world. Jiva, world is called Achit. That is the terminology. Jiva is called Chit, Brahman, Chit and Achit. Chit and Achit constitute the body of Brahman. And Brahman is the indwelling spirit. Brahman is qualified, it is not left alone. Brahman is not left alone. Brahman is always in the company of Chit and Achit. Chit is Jiva, Achit is Jagat. From the religious point of view, from the theistic point of view, it is very comforting. Because I think all the time that I am in the company of the Lord. I'm not left alone. It gives great support when I'm left alone in the room. AC is functioning. I have a background music all the time. Night throughout there will be the radio, slight tuning. With my book or anything corrections I do, I have a great comfort because I am in the company of the Lord, says Ramanuja. I'm not left alone. He is not left alone. It is equally a predicament for him. If it is a consolation to me, for me, well, problem is he doesn't want to be alone. All that is theistically, from the bhakti point of view, all that is encouraging. But when you examine the whole system, the concepts and the system, there are difficulties. At any rate, the Advaitin feels several difficulties. So Ramaraya Kavi examines his position. On what basis do they say that there is no object which is nirguna, Brahman is not nirguna, every object is saguna, Brahman also is an object to be known, Brahman therefore is saguna. They construct an argument. And Ramaraya Kavi asks Ramanuja and others, don't you know that there is our common teacher, Nyaya? He is our common teacher. Wherever necessary, we can go and appeal to him. Tell me your position. The Nyaya says, there is such a thing called guna. The Vaisesika says, there is such a thing called guna, which is nirguna. Nirguno gunaha. If Nyaya, Vaisesika system could say, among the categories, dravya, guna, karma, and so on, I said this is one batch. Dravya, guna, karma. Easier, remember panikano. Okay, chaotic dharma, dravya, and jolota abhavan solokadadu. Drill serial. Dravya, guna, karma, they hang together. Samanya and Visesha hang together. And then the whole supporting category, and everybody is looking at this category. They don't bother about them. What is going to happen if there is a collapse of this category? Whether we can pull it down. That is a negative category. There is a question, should we accept a negative category at all? He has said, but should we? So, guna is nirguna. And all of us have received a training under the Nyaya. He is our master. He says that there is guna which is nirguna. What is it you are going to say? Will you say guna is also saguna? If it becomes saguna, it is dravya. Then we have to roll out a category called guna. And therefore, if a guna can be a nirguna object without any quality, that is by definition nirguna. By definition we say Brahman is nirguna, nirvisesha. Free from qualities, free from specifications. What is that? Suddham Brahma. Suddham Brahma. That is the ultimate reality. This is, by the way, to draw your attention to a great contemporary Advaita. That means, in all the systems we have such thinkers. நிர்குணம் சொல்லிய குணத்துல குணம், அதாவது நிர்குணமான ஒரு வஸ்து இருக்கு. நிர்குணமான ஒரு வஸ்து இருக்கு. எங்க இருக்கு? குணம் தான் நிர்குணம். குணத்துல குணம் இருக்கா? இல்ல. So you have to say that guna is nirguna. It is free from guna. The moment there is a guna in that one, it will cease to be a guna. It becomes a dravya. Now the question is, in the dialectics, the question is there anything called nirguna or not? There is. What is nirguna here? In the Vaisesika, among the Vaisesika categories, guna is nirguna. If guna could be nirguna, at least there is one entity, one exception to disprove your thesis. Every object is saguna. Don't say every object. Every means all. In logic we say every, any, every means all. Every object is nirguna means all objects are nirguna. Rephrasing the logical form. All objects are nirguna. Huh? Again question வருது. Tell me. Is nirguna, now I will say a nirguna is an entity, a padartha. Nirguna, we don't say that one. Guna is nirguna. We don't say nirguna is guna. What is said to be nirguna, guna here in the category, they have listed the categories, not so. We have defined, Vaisesika philosopher defines dravya. Dravya is that which possesses qualities and also action. How does he define guna? Guna is an entity which has a support, substratum in dravya. It cannot exist by itself, it requires a support. That support is dravya. Now the question is, guna is a quality. Even though it is a padartha, the question is, does this padartha, does this entity, I use the word entity also, does this entity called guna, does it have a guna? No. No. Because, why do you call it nirguna? Because it does not have a quality, you call it nirguna means free from quality. That's all. Free from quality. Guna is free from quality. Guna is an entity. It's a padartha. And the nature of guna is such that it is free from quality. The moment there is an association of a quality, it is not guna but becomes dravya. Now, the Visishtadvaitins' logic is that there is no object which is nirguna. On the contrary, every object is saguna. Take the statement, every object is saguna. It can be rephrased logically as all objects are saguna. Because sometimes we may not clearly understand the significance of every. Therefore, we translate it in the logical form. Every means all. All objects are saguna. Therefore, Ramanuja's argument is, syllogism is, all objects are saguna. Brahman is an object. Draw a line. Therefore, Brahman is a saguna. Now, our criticism is that you have made an assumption in the major premise of the argument. In order to prove that all Malayalis are very efficient, I have a secretary, Jayanti. She's a Malayali lady. When she does a good work, I say that, wonderful, you have done a job. I don't think that anybody can do. She will smile. Every smile has got a meaning for her. Jayanti. Yeah. And it so happened that day that there was, I had a talk with in Delhi, my friends in Delhi. There is one lady, Bindu. And after I go through the correction and copy editing, everything else in the final form, at that stage I will send to her, not earlier. she is also, I will ask her to have a second look, final look. And then she says, wonderful sir, everything else. Then I was telling Jayanti, look, Bindu is equally good. She is also a Malayali. She says immediately, sir, all Malayalis are very good. We are very efficient. We are conscious of the work. So great.
So is Shiva here?
Huh? Shiva, yeah. Shiva, yeah. Yeah. Anytime, I told her, you can come anytime, you can ask. She said 2:30, 2:45, I was lying down, she came here. I know I am disturbing you, sir, but tell me now. So, every object is saguna. All objects are saguna. Minor premise, Brahman is an object. And therefore, Brahman is saguna. Now, let me complete. What I was saying is this, that you make an assumption in the major premise of the argument in order to defend your position. All objects are saguna. I question that one. Maybe 99 objects are, but there is one object which is nirguna, that is Brahman. Even if there is one object available to me which is nirguna, my purpose is served. That object which is nirguna is Brahman. No other object can be nirguna, excepting the Vaisesika, because it has helped us. We can't be uncharitable to this concept guna. Therefore, perhaps two padartas, two entities are nirguna. My Brahman, nirguna Brahman, and because he has been supporting, we say that all right, your guna is also nirguna. Yes. Huh? Yes, Visishtha-Advaita recognizes Maya. It is a Shakti of Brahman. Yeah, even Dvaidin accepts Maya. We all of them have the same categories. We only, just as when a person gets into the kitchen, well, you give the vegetables to him and you give the specification. You can make any kind of a kutu you like. I like kutu, not curry. Porchu kutu is always good hygienically for you, health point of view. X does it in one way, same vegetables. Y does another kind of a vegetables. Similarly, the categories, Vedantins have got the same categories such as Brahman, Ishvara, Maya, relation. Nyaya has taught some of the principles, categories and principles because he is our teacher. Tell slowly, you can also clearly understand what kind of a problem you are creating for yourself. Tell. Please. Don't hesitate. The world. The world is a creation by Brahman through Maya, yes.
But according to this, it is an entity.
Which is an entity?
World.
The world is an entity. Even for that, by then the world is an entity.
Then Maya doesn't play a part there.
Yeah. But should not Brahman have power? Can he be powerless and create the world? Why should we think that Brahman is powerless? Shaktiman, Sarva Shaktiman, Sarva Jnanavan. Why? Absolutely, whatever is true with regard to the Advaita perspective, equally true with regard here. The only thing is, I give an example. People may not agree with me, may agree with me. I have got my right to hold a view. You have heard about what is known as Nirmalya Darshana here. Everywhere is there. And people would like to have Nirmalya-darshana. Similarly, devotees who know would like to have Ekanta-darshana in the night. The last thing, to have a look at the Lord. Ekanta-sevi. I don't think I've seen that in other temples. I have not seen them because I didn't have an occasion so closely to be in the temple. I have seen Tiruchendur. So Ekanta-sevi is there. And Nirmalya-darshana everywhere is there. Before they do the Abhisheka, they remove the clothes and all that one, the ornaments and all that one. Sometimes even the basic cloth also is removed from the deity. It depends. And if it is the goddess they have, but sometimes even that is removed as see. The bare entity, the bare vigraha is there. And then they fight with each other to have some pushpam, some this and that. Nirmalya-darshana. To me, Nirmalya-darshana is an occasion when you are given a taste of what the reality, Brahman could be Nirguna. Everything edutturra. Clothes are removed, Avaranas are removed, everything. Then it becomes Saguna later on. You decorate it, everything, all that. Alangara ayiradu. Saguna Brahman is beautiful to look at. The deity, the image is beautiful to look at after this, after all this Abhisheka and Alankara. But when there is Nirmalya-darshana, think of the Supreme as Nirguna, free from every ornamentation, everything which serves as the Upadhi. Every ornament with which you decorate is an Upadhi. Vedanta, Advaita. This is சொன்னா வாழ்க்கையில் என்னமோ philosophy இங்க பூத்துறேன்பா. Philosophy பூத்தல. Philosophy அங்க இருக்கு. Because you don't have the background. Why is it the Archaka can do that, can put a curtain and then do the Abhisheka and then Alankara do that one, he can. But when they do the Alankara, they don't allow you to see, here put a curtain. When they do the Abhisheka, when they have removed everything else, when you see the bare Vigraha, B-A-R-E, Vigraha free from everything, you are given a chance to imagine how Nirguna Brahman could be by seeing this Vigraha here. Next time when you have this Nirmalya-darshana, just recollect what I told you and then how close you could be with regard to this concept of Nirguna Brahman and Saguna Brahman. Not we have Ramanuja's objection. You have got theory of two Brahmans. You have the theory of two Brahmans. You have got two Brahmans. Mathematics. One Nirguna Brahman, two Saguna Brahman. I say, it's not arithmetic, simple arithmetic. No. It is one which appears. If I am here, usually I don't put this jibba. Jayanti said, sir, when are you going to use this jibba? Why don't you at least when you go to Villayanadu, I think people will be happy, the Swamijis will be happy. I am here. Lakshmi said, Anna, no, it's so good for me.
It's not good, you look nice.
I will test. The point is, and so the argument, let me complete. I will tell you the fallacy. In the major premise, I said that Ramanuja assumes what is to be proved. He wants to prove that everything, every object is saguna. Therefore, he makes a general statement, a universal statement, a generalization. All objects, every object is saguna. All objects are saguna. It is in that context I was referring to Jayanti and Bindu and say all Malayalis are good, very, very efficient for generalization. I just smile, yes. Because I am moving with these people, they do a good job. Why not I give you a generalization? Yes, all Malayalis are good. From a few to all. There it is perfectly all right. I am not offending anybody, I am pleasing Jayanti. But when Ramanuja makes such a statement, we are now within the logical framework. Every object is saguna, all objects are saguna. Now our objection is that you make an assumption, unwarranted assumption of what is to be proved in the major premise. In ordinary English, we say it is a case of begging the question. It is a question begging fallacy. You beg the question. I'm safe, I believe. When I move from that place to this place, I'm very safe. Begging the question or petitio principii. Petitio principii. Petitio principii. Petitio, begging the question. Now, if what is to be proved by way of conclusion is assumed in the premise itself, then it is a case of a logical fallacy. Ordinarily, we say you are begging the question. Well, in a discussion, the court of law, they say you are begging the question. You have to prove it. What is to be proved? You make an assumption. You assume it. Very subtle, in a subtle way, the advocate will assume that one, argue, unless the opponent, vakil, advocate is very careful, he must immediately say, I object. You make an assumption. If that is allowed, the rest of it will be proved. Therefore, I have not seen, and my teacher told me, he has not seen any such objection. Subtle way in which the objection is given. So Ramaraya Kavi says, here is a fallacy. Here is a fallacy. The Visishtadvaita makes a universal statement in which what is to be proved has been assumed by him. Therefore, to say that every object is saguna, once you concede, then the rest of the argument follows. Minor premise, Brahman is an object, therefore Brahman is saguna. Major premise, minor premise, conclusion. The fault is in the major premise. Petitio principii. At any rate, you can say that most of the objects are saguna. Most. You can make an exception in favor of only one. We are talking about the supreme reality, not an empirical reality, trans-empirical reality. That's why we will also drop this guna. It has been a ladder through which you climb. And then having climbed, would you carry your ladder again? Unless you want to come back, you have to retain the ladder. When you have climbed up, that is what Wittgenstein says. He gives the ladder theory. Ajay, you are here. There are Wittgensteinian scholars there in Hyderabad, where you go. Wittgenstein uses the ladder analogy. Through the ladder you go up. And when you go up, you don't look back at the ladder because there is no use, you are not going to come back. When you have climbed up, through spiritual transcendence you are going up and up. Why should you think about coming down? From there you can give the advice. So, this guna, a category mentioned by the Visishtadvaita, by the Vaisesika philosopher, it is an empirical category. From what is empirical, we can try to understand what is trans-empirical. There is no other way. To understand the nature of Brahman, we give the ordinary example of the rope and the snake, empirical example. To understand the Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, an empirical example is given, Soyam Devadattaha. The example will be only at the empirical sphere. We can't give an example from the trans-empirical sphere. Let us be very clear about that one. We have taken advantage of the category of guna. We can say this is nirguna, that is also nirguna, but our point is not with regard to guna. We are not committed to guna. It's an empirical category. Very helpful to us to understand. This is what exactly Wittgenstein says, Wittgenstein does. And this ladder example analogy, all the Wittgensteinian scholars so far, they are blind to that because they thought that, yesterday I quoted Bacon, men mark when they hit, not when they miss. Men mark when they hit and not when they miss. If you achieve your objective, that's all right. You draw your attention, make a tom-tom. So Wittgensteinian scholars in India and also in the West, they thought that Wittgenstein is very important for various things. Wherever there are passages which are inconvenient to them, they will just say, no, not necessary. Why not necessary? Inconvenient to them. Oh, in all these places, Wittgenstein has become a little mystical. Is it wrong to become mystical? Because those statements are inconvenient to them for the development of their philosophy of language and all that one, they want to blind themselves with regard to those passages in Wittgenstein's Tractatus. Why? Study the whole book. Probably that is preliminary. What you claim to be the most important thing is only the preliminary. That is the base. He develops his theory. And his is transcendental philosophy. This is now what is agreed by the Hyderabad people now. Suresh Chandra, R.C. Pradhan. I requested R.C. Pradhan to write a chapter, one article, separate article on the transcendental philosophy of Wittgenstein. Advaita's transcendental philosophy. The self is here. Don't ask for the location. Self is in the jiva. Throughout the jiva. That is why anywhere you prick, you feel the sensation. Anywhere you prick. The ultimate principle which enables you to be aware of anything is consciousness, the self. It is everywhere. Enga illa. Purnam. So we don't have to search for the self. The self is the essential part of the jiva. Don't try to make a search to locate it. It is futile. It is everywhere. When a thing is everywhere, why should you say that whether it is here or there? This is a lesson that Prahlada taught us. Satam bodradha. So, I was talking about the ladder theory. Similarly, the Advaitin also has got a ladder theory. He starts with the things in the world. He makes use of all empirical examples. Empirical examples are not a taboo. We want them. How to teach anything, to teach a thing from a known thing, pedagogy proceeds from the known to the unknown. That is the procedure that is followed in Advaita. Adhyaropa apavadabhyam nishprapancham prapanchate. Adhyaropa. That is what is there every time in our life. Adhyaropa. And then from there we proceed, and then therefore there is something that is known, something we have understood, experienced. Then we proceed. The ladder theory is there. Therefore, when he comes to the ladder theory and then reaches the whole thing, Wittgenstein says, there is a reality, a metaphysical subject. He doesn't say, there is no other way. It is not the, he talks about the metaphysical subject. He qualifies subject. Subject is the knower, but it is a metaphysical subject. Metaphysical subject, where is that? He says it is not the I. He gives a clarification in the Tractatus. It is not the I. It is not the psychological ego, something different from that. Where is this metaphysical subject? It is not part of the world. Imagine the world consisting of so many things, all the categories of the Vaisesika. 7 categories. It is filled with 7 categories. Or it is filled with 16 Padartas of the Nyaya. Doesn't matter. The less, the better for us. And therefore, when we move to the Sankhya, only 2 categories, more convenient. We have unburdened ourselves from the luggage. So, when you come to only 7 categories, here there are things in the world, and then we try to proceed further. This metaphysical subject, says Wittgenstein, is not part of the world. I mean, actually quoting his expression, it is the border of the world. Border of the world. That is the expression, the English translation. I don't know German. The authentic translation by Anscombe and others. The metaphysical subject, replace metaphysical subject by the term Brahman, absolute. He calls it a metaphysical subject, not the ordinary epistemological subject. The metaphysical subject is not part of the world of space and time. This is the world of space and time. But it is the border of the world. You have to go to the border. Very difficult to find the border. Just as it is very difficult to find the border between the waking and the dream state. Is there any border? No. Is there any border between the dream and the deep sleep state? No. We suggest. Really, it is what I call, I used this expression in one place, it is seamless. Tekkala, teyyal illa. Border la tekkirom nama samayathila. That it is seamless, experience is seamless. There are no distinguishing features, but still, for the purpose of analysis, noting various features, we say, this is the waking state, this is the dream state, this is the deep sleep state, and then we have got the 4th, above all that. So that is Wittgenstein. I'm drawing the attention of Ajay because he'll be going there, studying there, working for his MPhil and then PhD. That is Wittgenstein. And because he becomes mystical, you know, I want to share 1 or 2 things. In a seminar of great philosophy of scientists were there. In a seminar, Wittgenstein was invited. He was there. He did not listen to any paper. He was reading Tagore's The Prince of the Dark Chamber. And then they asked him to go and read his paper, whatever comments he wants to come. He went to the dais. He sat showing his back to the entire audience. They just kept quiet because it's Wittgenstein. So their comment usually is that sometimes he becomes highly mystical. Is it a sin to become mystical? Only when Wittgenstein says whatever is convenient to them, they must accept. The whole group, the philosophers of science group and the scientists and the logical positivists, all of them, including Carnap, who talked about syntax, semantics and pragmatics. That is his slogan. We have syntax, we have semantics, we have pragmatics. Nothing is wanting here. But still they won't study Indian philosophy. And they were unhappy with Wittgenstein whenever he has become mystical, talked about the philosophical subject and not the psychological I or the ego, philosophical subject, which is not part of the world of space and time. It is in the border of the world, not part of the world. Great man. Unfortunately, sometimes he was eccentric. And great people are eccentric. That we are told that some autistic children become very great. Now, I must listen to the. Huh? You speak aloud and tell me.
My question is on your exposition on Guna.
Guna?
Please come here.
My exposition of Guna?
Yeah, you explained Guna as Nirguna in that context. I have a question. The Nyaya Vaisesika school, being a realist school, when they explain things in a realist way, substance or dravya are something that is, and Guna are something that indicates it.
Substance in Dravya.
Yeah. And if that is considered in two different levels of existence, the planes of existence,
Two different levels of existence.
will there be a problem like that?
Why two levels of existence? All of them belong to one level. See, just imagine here there are so many objects. There is a stone, there is a piece of wood, there is a cockroach moving here. All of them there in one level. Though you distinguish a stone from a piece of wood, you also distinguish both of them from the cockroach which is moving or sometimes standing still. Similarly, the 7 categories are the empirical categories. It is not the trans-empirical category. So, Dravya is a category, Padartha. In the sense in which you say Dravya is a Padartha, Guna is a Padartha, Karma is a Padartha, so and so on. What I have done is, in order to make it easy for remembering, I put them as one category because they hang on. Guna and Karma are dependent upon Dravya. Then we have another category. All of them belong to one level, empirical level. All of them are empirical categories. That's why we say Vaisesika has given us a descriptive metaphysics, like Aristotle's categories. The first to give us a kind of a descriptive metaphysics in a very comprehensive way is Aristotle. Then in more, that expression descriptive metaphysics is an expression used by Strawson. He supports descriptive metaphysics, not the other kind of metaphysics. Are clear now?
Then what will be the substratum for your
Substratum for?
platform for your distinction, all these distinctions?
Right.
If it is considered one and the same level.
Yeah, one and the same level, one may depend upon the other. One may depend upon the other. They are at the same level. One may play the role of a supporter, the other may be the supported. Because it is supported doesn't mean that it loses its existence. It exists. Supposing I keep the duster on the table. The duster rests on the table. The table is the support for this one. It doesn't hang there. This is a different entity, that is a different entity. The two are different. The two are related. What kind of relation we will say subsequently? There is some yoga or conjunction. One is dependent upon the other. It need not necessarily be the same relation. Because I said samyoga, it need not necessarily be here, the relation of samyoga here. It will be a different relation. It is samavaya relation. The relation between quality and the dravya. But there can be the supporter-supported relation. A creeper, as it wants to grow, has a support. You put a stick. Or if there is a tree close by, it goes and touches and all that one. Here in after the playground, you see the stone wall. There is a small, not a cavity like that, it has gone inside, one line is there. A creeper has gone, avoiding the two sides, or vaikal paramari, channel paramari, it goes on like that. See that for 5 minutes, your mind will be calm. Are clear? Huh? You want me to explain again? Follow very carefully, one by one. Here is a padartha, is an entity. Padartha, an entity, an object of knowledge. Entity is there. Just as dravya is there, here there is guna. It is an entity by itself. It exists by its own right. Though it may depend upon dravya, that is something different. Guna. In a guna, a dravya has got guna, a dravya has karma. These two are dependent upon dravya. Dravya is not dependent upon guna. Dravya is not dependent upon karma, not dependent on, but it supports them. There is a relation between them. Not in the way in which we understand, we say guna is dependent on dravya, not vice versa. Karma is dependent upon dravya, not vice versa. Karma is not dependent upon guna, guna is not dependent upon karma. This is a category by itself, this is a category by itself. What is guna according to the Vaisesika philosopher? In a guna, there will not be any guna. In a guna, there will not be, take any guna. Supposing you take redness, red quality, guna. Red is a quality. Now in red, can there be another quality? You say a fusion of colors. Fusion of colors means there are two colors. The saree is a fusion of colors. Double color, triple color. A color, a guna, will not have any guna in it. Supposing there is a guna in guna. If there is a guna in the guna, it is not a guna. It becomes dravya. Any object which possesses a guna is dravya. What makes it a dravya? Because it has got a guna in it. And it is a guna that is located in the dravya. In a guna, there cannot be a guna.
Sir, have you not negated that same difference between the entities at that point?
Huh?
Already in the beginning, we have made a distinction of entities.
Yeah.
That distinction you have now.
No, I am explaining the nature of the guna. I explain the nature of dravya. What is dravya? I explain. What is karma? I am going to explain. What is guna? I explain. What is guna? How do you define guna? The Vaisesika philosopher says a guna can be defined as an entity in which there is no guna. An entity in which there is no guna is guna. That is the definition. You may say that I will define it differently. That is another issue. You are rewriting Vaisesika system. You are not following the Vaisesika system. Now, from that the discussion has gone on to the Vedanta system. Now, there is Nirguna, Brahman is Nirguna for the Advaita. Brahman is Nirguna. It is an entity which is Nirguna, free from quality. Free from quality. An entity free from quality. Now, Ramanuja says, no, it's not possible. Every entity is associated with qualities. Every entity is Visishta, that is his language. He has got a quality. There is no entity without qualities. He constructs argument. You know syllogism, you know. He writes a syllogism, Ramanuja. Major premise. Tell, repeat. Major premise. All objects are saguna. Minor premise. Brahman is an object. Conclusion. Brahman also is saguna. Now, how is he able to achieve this objective? In the major premise. He has made an assumption. What is assumption? Every object is saguna. That we question. You have made an unwarranted assumption. If the assumption is questioned, your major premise is wrong. Then the rest of the argument is not binding. That's argument. Anything? Huh? Nirguna gunaha. Nirguna guna.
Is it really correct? Because if you are able to say non-beauty is beauty.
Non-beauty, I don't see the similarity between the two. Non-beauty is beauty. Huh? Nirguna guna is what is free from guna. When you want to give the meaning, you proceed from the last word. Nirguna gunaha. Guna is nirguna. Guna is nirguna, you give the English standard. Guna is free from qualities. Guna is an entity. Guna is an entity. Padarta is not so. Guna is an entity which is free from, in which there are no qualities, which is free from qualities. Qualities are absent in a guna.
That means you have to use the syntax guna, nirguna.
English, every language has got its genius. Gunaha, nirgunaha, you can say. That is also. அப்படி யஸ்மாத்து தஸ்மாத்தெல்லாம் போட்டால் எங்களுக்கு கஷ்டமா இருக்கும்மா. நான் அதுக்காக தான் நான் சொல்றேன். இப்போ யஸ்மாத்துன்னா எக்ஸாக்ட்லி எங்களுக்கு புரியாது சம்ஸ்கிருதம் சொல்றது. தட்ஸ் அ ப்ராப்ளம். நான் உங்களுக்கு சொல்ல சார், எனக்கே நான் இங்க வாத்தியார்ட்ட போய் let me be like, I used to tell him, sir, I studied Sanskrit up to my BA. Unfortunately, this is a lesson for wherever I go and talk to the people who teach Sanskrit. You have made the study of Sanskrit such a very difficult thing. Always producing before us this Bandrakar grammar. Bandrakar grammar. ஒன்றும் தெரியாது, ரூல்ஸே தெரியாது எங்களுக்கு. அப்பப்போ பார்த்துட்டு சொல்றது, சப்தம் தெரியாது, டேர்ன்ஸை பார்த்துக்கிறது. பிரதமா 1 வருதா, 2 வருதா, 3 வருதா, 4 வருதா, 5 வருதா, 6 வருதா, 7, ஓகே, கால்குலேட் பண்ணிக்கிறது, சொல்லிடுறது. இஸ் ஹாப்பி. எங்களுக்கும் கிளாஸ்ல ஒரு பாட்டு வராமல் தப்பிச்சிட்டோம். எத்தனை நாளைக்கு இப்படியே போறது? எல்லாம் இங்கிலீஷ்ல எழுதுவோம், டிரான்ஸ்லேஷன்லாம் எழுதுறது. எங்களுடைய best English will show only in Sanskrit paper. Particularly when you go to BA, there is literature also. There is literature. We studied Kavya Alankara Sutravritti, literature, all the works and all that we study, and the history of Sanskrit literature. And then when, for example, when there is a question, describe the situation in which Dushyanta and Shakuntala met. Beautiful English. Sanskrit varadu. Sanskrit translation, English to Sanskrit varadu. Sanskrit to English iruvam. If you make an attempt, however wrong it may be, some marks will be given. Just to make an attempt. இப்படி bluff பண்ணிண்டே காலம் நில்லினோம். And என்ன ரிசல்ட் என்னன்னாக்கா, I penalized my brother. I told him, you better study Tamil. Sanskritam உனக்கு வேண்டாம். I did not put him. என் அடுத்த தம்பி போரும்பா, நான் படிச்ச சம்ஸ்கிருதம் போறோம். ஏன்னா அவ்வளவு டிஃபிகல்ட்டா பண்ணிட்டான். And in college போனாக்க Sanskrit professors will speak only in English. Look at the anomaly. They won't speak in they're good. ரெண்டு பேர் இருந்தார், ஒரு பண்டிட் பாட்டாச்சாரியார்னு இருந்தார். அவர் தமிழ்லயே பேசுவார். அவர் சொல்லுவார், எனக்கு இங்கிலீஷ் தெரியாது, தமிழ்ல தான் நான் சொல்லி டீச் பண்ணுவேன், நீங்க பண்ணிக்கோங்க. So we had a combination. Unfortunately, the method of teaching Sanskrit is wrong. Grammar கொண்டு என்ன தப்பு, இங்கிலீஷ் பேசும்போது தப்பு பண்ணலையா நம்ம? Let a German scholar come here, ask him to speak in English, excepting a few people that they stumble, they read. எழுதி வச்சுட்டு இருக்கான், அது உச்சத்தப்பு கூட சரியா இருக்காது. Even the case with the Frenchman. இப்போ the colloquial Sanskrit வைக்கிறா. For example, my sister and Lakshmi, when she went to Andhra area, she picked up the language. Telangana Hindi and Telangana Telugu, she will speak fluently with the same Telugu accent. Why not? Sulabha Sanskrit. First model conversation. Keep என்ன பெரிய தப்பு, டூயல் நம்பர், பகுவச்சனம், த்விவச்சனம், இந்த லாங்குவேஜ் உங்களுக்கு தான். Singular and plural will do, we can carry on. Occasionally when it requires, we can go for the dual number. சிம்பிளா பண்ணலாம். தப்பு இருந்தா பரவாயில்ல, உடனே தப்பு இருந்தா உடனே இன்னைக்கு கிராமர் படிக்கல, அதை படிக்கல, அதுக்கு கதை சொல்றது. 4 வார்த்தை சம்ஸ்கிருதத்தில் பேச மாட்டார் சென்டென்ஸ்ல. Totally unfit, he can't speak. That is the history of all most of the Sanskrit teachers and professors in universities. They can't speak in Sanskrit. எல்லாம் இங்கிலீஷ். எங்க வாத்தியார்ட்ட நான் போய் கேட்டேன், ஸோ வீக் கிராமர் அப்படி இருக்க, நான் பிரம்மசித்தி உங்கள்கிட்ட படிச்சுட்டு இருக்கேனே, உனக்கு எதுக்கு ஏன் கிராமரை பற்றி இப்போ ஒரே பண்ணிக்கிற? உனக்கு டெக்ஸ்ட்டை நான் படித்து சொல்கிறேன், இன்டர்பிரிட்டேஷன் கொடுக்குறேன், நீ ஃபாலோ பண்ணுற, நீ எழுதுற, டெக்ஸ்ட்டை கரெக்டாக சொல்கிற, கரெக்டாக இது பண்ணுற. இப்போ இந்த கிராமரை வச்சுட்டு என்ன பண்ண போற நீ? இல்லை சார், கிராமர் சில சமயத்தில் இருந்ததுனாக்கா we can just solve the issue. விற்பத்தி போடுறா, நியாயத்தை அனேன இதி விற்பத்தி, ஞானம் அனேன அர்த்தம் மாறி போடுறது. It's all right. But I'm not a student of Sanskrit. I'm not a Sanskritist. Our consolation. I wish you know, but illa. This is my area, at least my area, I should be clear. Idiliyum inge angeyum illa enna artham adu. The point is this one. Sometimes, and here we take advantage of Vaisesika. Nyaya also we take advantage of that one. This is why Samanya Shastra. We want them. And then we will differ. You see the criticisms with regard to Samavaya, and one concept which they have been telling, which I wanted to know from all the Naiyayikas, Swarupa Sambandha. Whenever there is a discussion on Samavaya, when we give the criticisms and all that one, they say that there is another kind of Sambandha. What is called? எனக்கு தெரியல, நீயாவது எனக்கு சொல்லி கொடுத்துருமா. Swarupa Sambandha. என்ன ஸ்வரூப சம்பந்தா? There is Swarupa Sambandha. Later on, the Naiyayikas have formulated this one. Through Swarupa Sambandha, we can defend our Samavaya category. I don't know. Shankara did not know. Shankara has given that objection, but I don't think, probably at that time, logic did not develop to bring in this concept of Swarupa Sambandha. You with your time? We will take the rest of the categories. And I want to finish, if possible, also Vaisesika in the afternoon. Tomorrow we must take Sankhya. Sankhya is our closest friend, easy. And we have to Khyadivadas, and then these causal theories. Yoga, simple. Some more, I am giving the focus, background to Advaita.